Hello, everyone. I'm Hidayah Eldelio, and I'm here today with Lucille Proulx, our Senior Director at CiiAT, the Canadian International Institute of Art Therapy. And we're here to have a little chat. How are you doing today, Lucille?
Well, I'm very well, thank you. And thank you so much for organizing this interview. I'm very honored to be able to speak to so many people all in one shot.
Yeah, you have many fans. It's my honor, Lucille. I was inspired by your video in Thailand, and you were given the title of Grandmother of Art Therapy.
Well,
And
yes, I think I'm a grandmother to a lot of people in Thailand. In Thailand, grandmother is kun yai, and kun is Mr. or Mrs., and yai means old. So in Thailand, grandmother is old lady.
right.
So it's kind of funny because here, even seniors, they don't like to be called old ladies. But over there, it's quite an honor to be called the old lady of our therapy.
Right, yeah. And you're also known as the grandmother of attachment here in Canada.
Yes, but here it's just a grandmother of attachment. It doesn't have another connotation.
Yes. And you're also a mother of 8, a grandmother of 18, and a great-grandmother of 8.
Yes, it seems like 8 is the number now that manages my life somehow. I don't expect the 9th in the near future, so we're at 8 right now. It's funny because, I was the youngest of 9 in my family.
Wow.
And I grew up in Ottawa. I had never seen a mountain or an ocean growing up. And as a teenager, I had one desire, and that was to see the Rocky Mountains and to get married and have children. Some of that, I think, was brainwashed into me because that's what people of my age did in those days. And at 20, I was married to a gentleman who was in the Navy and who was being sent out to Victoria for a training session. And so at 20 years old, I saw the Rocky Mountains. At 21 years old, I had my first baby. After that, everything has been a bonus. Everything that I've never even imagined or thought I would want has come to me quite easily. I had to work for it, but the opportunities just kept popping up. So I've been very, very grateful for that.
Wow. And so tell us a little bit, what was your experience like mothering 8 children?
Well, I'll tell you, it's always the first one, eh? The first baby makes you into a mother, and the first grandchild converts you into a grandmother. Babies have magical moments, and then the first great grandchild makes you into a great grandmother.
Yeah, that's right.
and the rest of them are just as special, but they're not that first one. That first one, when you become the grandmother, I have a daughter who has become a grandmother of the 8th child, and his name is Henry, so I call him Henry the 8th, and believe me, he's a king in his house.
Wow.
And my daughter often talks to me about her wonderful feelings of being a grandmother. 2 of my daughters are grandmothers now, and one of my son has been a grandfather for quite a few years. It is just that attachment that brings me to being the grandmother of attachment, because I think attachment has been part of my life. I think that the attachment I have had to my children, my grandchildren, and now my great-grandchildren, and my attachment I have had to people in general. So in Thailand, I became the grandmother of many children out there, and many of my students. And so I accept the titles quite easily because they are me. I feel that grandmother of art therapy and of attachment are kind of woven into my life.
Mhm.
So they're part and parcel of who I am today. And it's just a wonderful way to go into old age and to have these titles given to you. You know, before I went to university, because I was married at 20 and I had babies until I was 44, I wasn't able to go to university until I was 50 years old.
Wow.
So, but before I went to university, I worked in the community a lot with parents and parents with children. And sometimes they would ask me to go and talk about different parenting themes. And I would go, there'd be a blackboard, and I would write my name, Lucille Proulx. By then I had a master's degree. So I put Lucille Proulx. I didn't have my master's degree. I'd put Lucille Proulx, M-A-M-A, okay, G-R-M-A, and then people would look at that and say, what are those letters? Well, Mama and Grandma. Those were my titles. Those were my letters. I'd worked hard and I had earned the name of M-A-M-A and of G-R-M-A, you know, so they
Wow.
used to get a big kick out of that, and it made them value themselves as being a mother or a grandmother as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have any highlights on from your journey as a mother? Anything that stands out when you were mothering your children? Anything you'd like to share with us? What were you like as a mother?
I think I had fun. As a matter of fact, as a mother, I played a lot with my children. And if there's one thing that stands out is the negative comments I used to get from my friends and my family. They'd say, you play too much with your children. You're going to have a hard time with them. They won't listen to you. And then I ended up getting a job at Montreal Children's Hospital in the Department of Psychiatry, teaching mothers how to play with their children, because they needed to play with their children in order to create the attachment and in order for their children to listen to them and to sort of follow through with any rules and regulations. By playing, you're also teaching rules and regulations, because games do have that. So I think as far as for me with my children, there are so many special moments that it's hard for me to pick out just one. And then I'm thinking, if my children listen to this, one will say, well, why didn't you pick out one about me?
Yeah.
So, but one of the, I suppose, highlights of my grandmothering that happened to me just recently is I went to Montreal on my way up north to Abitibi-Témiscamingue to do a lecture on attachment. And my two grandsons in Montreal are hockey players.
Uh-huh.
And the team at Rouyn-Noranda had just won the title of that year for hockey.
Wow.
And they said to me, Granny, could you buy us a hockey shirt with the logo of Rouyn-Noranda on it? Because, you know, they like to wear all these different hockey shirts. And so as soon as I arrived in Rouyn, or in Noranda, I don't know which one, they're one city on top of the other, they're attached now. I said to the person who picked me up at the airport, I said, the first thing I have to do is go to the arena and pick up these shirts for my grandsons. I don't often get a request like this, and I'm quite honored to fulfill it.
Wow.
So they brought me to the arena, but the store was closed. And the woman explained to them why I was there and how short a time I was there for. So they opened the store for me.
Wow.
And so I was able to buy them each one of the shirts that they could wear. And so we went to the post office and I mailed them right away to Montreal. So that was exciting. You know, I often send them gifts, but I don't often get requests. So getting a request from one of your grandkids is very special.
Of course.
It's like they know you're there.
Yeah.
And they know you'll come across. You know, usually they know I'm the grandmother who always brings surprises. So they know that I will bring a surprise. So they never usually ask me for anything special. But that was very special for me to do this.
Wow. Wow. And what kind of advice, if any, would you give mothers today, Lucille? Because mothering today is very different to mothering when you were, when you were parenting your children.
Well, mothering today is not just different, it's different in every way. Remember, I had a baby in 1953, and then I had twins in 1975. Well, even how you dressed your baby, the formula you made, the diapers, whole thing had changed, whole thing had evolved. Yet, there seems to be less time and less pleasure, it seems. I'm sure some parents do have a lot of pleasure with their children, but there's less time for it. And I see a trend where, and I think it all has to do with styles, but babies are made to be grown up so quickly. And next thing you know, this little baby is dressed in a little Gap outfit and they're just 6 months old, you know?
Yeah.
And so here they have a little jean jacket on and a pair of jeans, and it's really cute. But you won't have that baby for very long, and you'll have a young man in a jean jacket around for a long time, and you won't be able to hug him and kiss him like you can with the little baby. I think having children today is more difficult, although it shouldn't be, because of the pressures of society. Not only that, but like people my age, most people have had 6 children that are my age, because the birth control pill came out in the 60s and we all jumped onto the bandwagon. And then I got pregnant for twins on the birth control pill. So I still had 8. But most people my age, most people in their 80s that have had a big family have had about 6 children. Yes, I think parenting today is more difficult for more than one reason, but 2 main reasons is most parents are working. So the time that they have with their child at home is shortened. And then the other reason is you don't have the camaraderie of parenting that you had in my day. You know, one of the things I remember we were living in Newfoundland. I didn't have family or mother or father around me or sisters or brothers. But when I got the children off to school and the babies into bed for their nap, I could go sit out in the backyard with my friend who had just put her baby down, and we would have a cup of coffee together. Then the girl from next door would come over, and we'd be 3 or 4 before you know it, being able to talk about babies or talk about other things. We had that camaraderie that you can't seem to have today, because when you do get your child brought to the daycare, then you're at work and you're in another world and you're in another way of thinking.
Yes.
Totally disconnected from child rearing. Then when you come home, you have to instantly reconnect to child rearing. And you want to do that. I know the mothers do, and the beautiful thing today is that the fathers are so nice. Those that are involved with their children, they make such beautiful fathers, and it's so nice to see the fathers with the children now, which is a treat for somebody my age, because fathers had a role to play when we were married in the 50s. Father went out and earned the money, and mother stayed at home and looked after the house and the children. That was clear cut. and you'll get punished when your father comes home was often the way children were punished. So father had the job of being the punisher, which isn't always the pleasantest of jobs.
Yeah.
So young men today all over the world, I've seen it in Thailand, I've seen it in Japan and in Egypt, fathers today have been given permission by mothers to get involved because mothers can't do it all by themselves anymore.
Absolutely.
And so they do get the help of their husbands, whereas for us, that was our territory. Don't you dare cross that line. This is my kitchen. These are my kids.
Yeah.
And so we did them a great disservice because I'm sure there were fathers in those days who involved themselves as much as we allowed them to. But now, because of the stress on the mothers that have to be working also, there's a more of a say, yeah, come on in, I need your help.
Yeah. I know, we all know that you've written many books about art therapy and attachment. And I'm going to share my screen. And I don't know if all your fans know that you've also written
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you've written books about parenting.
Yes, I wrote this book on twins and toilet training.
Yeah.
The toilet training book was sold quite broadly in the USA because I was involved with the Ottawa Twins Parents Association. And through them, I found an outlet in the US that sold my book. So I did a lot of toilet training in the US as well.
Wow.
This book could have a lot of value now because people are using more.
So is it this one, Toilet Training with Love?
That's the one, yeah.
Yes, yes.
And it's been translated into French.
Wow.
In French, we call it pipi popo.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just something it's hard for me to explain, but when I finished a big, difficult job, it seems important for me to write it down.
Yeah.
And the toilet training was my first book because I had been asked by the Parent Preschool Resource Center to come in and do a workshop on how to toilet train your child. And I went in and did the workshop, and it was very successful. And somebody asked me if I had some literature on it. And at first I thought, oh, well, I'll write it up on a piece of paper and give it to them. And then I thought, oh, well, I may as well write a book. And my daughter, Diane, loved to do graphic art. So she did all the designing of the little people in the book. And it's quite funny. And actually, Dr. Freud's grandson, Dr. Ernest Freud, came to the hospital at Montreal Children's one year and did some goop with me. And he wanted to see my book. So I sent him copies of the toilet training book. And we had done some goop together. Anyways, he said he wished his mother had had that book when he was growing up and he wouldn't be so, because he's a very obsessive type of man. He said he figured it had something to do with toilet training, and he liked the way I wrote that book in quite an amusing manner. And so it was nice to get some comments from a Dr. Freud, even if it wasn't Sigmund.
Yeah.
And then, well, when the same was with the twins. Once the twins were born, I got involved with the Twins Parents Association, and I used to lecture across Canada at different conferences. And so at one point, the necessity of having a book, because people wanted something they could put their hands on. So that's when I wrote that book.
Wow.
And then when I finished my work at Montreal Children's, I saw the necessity to put that. So that was my first book on attachment.
Yeah, So your other books have also been translated into many languages.
Well, the first book I wrote on attachment, strengthening emotional ties through parent-child dyad art therapy, has been translated in Hebrew and in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite proud of that.
Yes.
But funny, it's never been translated in French.
Okay.
There's a group of my former students that are now professionals that are taking it in hand and planning to translate it.
Wow.
Although it's kind of a little bit, I am writing a revised edition of that book because I feel I could add a bit more to it. Although it's been quite popular the way it is, I just thought I should do a second edition now. So most likely the second edition will get the translation.
Wow. So we're going to look forward to that.
Yeah, it's well underway.
Oh, great. And as we wrap up the interview, Lucille, is there anything you'd like to share with all your fans and students and followers all over the world?
Well, just enjoy Mother's Day. And all I hope to have on Mother's Day is at least 8 phone calls.
Wow.
I usually get 8 bouquets, but I don't need that many. I like to connect with each and every one of my children on Mother's Day and grandchildren if I can. But my family's spread out across Canada and I can't hope to see them all, which would be a treat if it was, but their mothers also, and some of them are grandmothers. So they've got their own family units to deal with, and it's important that they be with them. But yes, just enjoy it. It's nice to be a mother. It's nice to be honored as a mother. Just accept it, because as mothers, we're used to giving. It's hard sometimes for us to receive, but we have to just be able to say thank you.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah. And thank you for your time, Lucille. This will definitely be one of many interviews to come.
Well, thank you, Hadaya, for taking this time. Have a happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Same to you, Lucille. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.